does take a while. And you can see that a little bit of a detail we got, and of course. Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop in the next episode of our texturing series. Today we're going to deal with the Knurling tool, or the Wagner tool. You can get these from several different sources, and I'll post the some possible sources under the description of the video. They basically come in two different sizes, the 12 teeth per inch, the larger one, and then there's a 16 thread per inch. Generally the larger one is for covering larger areas and for maybe coarser wood. The smaller one is for maybe harder wood or where you need a narrow band. There's a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're going to start using this Wagner Knurling tool on parallel grain. Excuse me, parallel with a lathe bed. So all the grain is running this way. We've got a little bit of bark inclusion or something that might interfere with it comes around. We'll see what happens. And we're going to start first with the small tool. But first, I think it's worth pointing out that one aspect of using these small tools, these particular knurling tools, is there is no bearing. So it is important that you just touch it. Sorry. Put a light machine oil on it to lubricate it periodically to extend the life of it. And then be sure to rub off the excess so it doesn't sling on your work. Might even pay to do that on a different part of the tool like that, to kind of get rid of any excess. So we're going to slow this down. This tool is best run somewhere maybe between 400, 600, maybe up to 800, depending on the size of the piece. We're going to set the tool rest where we're going to cut it, do it right on center, but the pattern can change whether we, it won't change actually on doing a side of a cylinder like this. It'll change when we do ingrain. I'll show that in a moment. So we're going to get the speed up to about, it's about 600, and we're going to just engage it slightly on one side, and then ease it in. Again, the texturing tool is about 90 degrees to the wood, and then I'm going to slowly rotate it down. I'm holding this down very firmly with my thumb, and we're being very patient. Now this is holly, so it's a pretty soft wood, and it'll texture fairly quickly compared to some harder woods that might take longer. And we get a nice little weave pattern there. Now let's try it with the that's with the 16 teeth per inch, which is a little bit sharper. Now we're going to go to the 12 teeth per inch. And before we do that, let's just take a full little operator maintenance here. Just take a detail brush and clean out any frizzies that might interfere with it. And again, we've got to touch it up. I haven't used this today yet. Put a drop of oil on it. Clean that off a little bit. Okay, we're going to go right next to this. Again, we're going to engage in one side, and this time instead of my thumb, I'm going to hold my whole hand down. And we're just going to ease into it until we create a bit of a track, and then we're going to slowly rotate a little bit to the left so we get 100% contact with the face of the wheel on here. And most people that have a problem using this tool are just not patient enough to give it a chance to really cut the wood. And there we've got a little larger pattern, a little bit more of a very similar, very similar. All right, now let's rotate this around. Oh, and again, I know y'all tired of me hearing this, but anytime you do this again, you want to delineate the beginning and end of your texturing, just to kind of punch it up a little bit. Kind of focus your eye on it. Maybe a little bead. This little pyramid tool makes a great little beading tool. Put a little felt tip pin on here so you can see this a little bit better, I think. And you can see that pattern. Okay, now we're going to do it on Ingrain. And this technique would be an example if you're trying to put a little decorative feature inside a box. And we can see this is pretty small. I think this is probably no more than 2 inches across. The best tool for that is going to be the 16 teeth per inch. Still got a little excess oil on it. We're going to come in right on center, and we're going to make just a little bit of a feature. Slow that down a bit to just under 700. Speeds aren't critical. You still want to go too fast because it's hard to maintain control. So I'm going to just ease the edge into this, and I'm going to hold that edge, and it's almost right on center. Whoop, got away from me. But you can see this very nice little, I think you can see that. Yeah, this nice little pattern. Of course, we're going to, again, punch it up. You can see how quick and easy that was to make a very nice little pattern in the bottom of a box. And again, you can use multiple tools. We don't have room to go much further than that because the edge of the tool will hit the side wall of the box. So you could always, if you wanted more, you could put another little bead or another little, yeah, just another little bead. And of course you could punch this up with a little patinating wax. This was a very soft wood. Let's see what it would do in a very hard wood. So let's look at Burmese blackwood. Okay, we've used the knurling tool with some softer wood. Now let's try it with something a little more difficult. Again, we're going to use a scrap of Burmese blackwood, and I'm going to use the 16 teeth per inch wheel because the smaller teeth will cut easier in a very hard wood, and this is pretty hard. So we're just going to again start it from the right edge until it starts cutting, and then press it in, and we're going to try to keep it right on center. Tool rest is such it'll put the cutter right on center. So we're going to do this at about 600 RPM, and we're going to be very patient. So I'm going to ease in. My right hand is pressing down very firmly on the tool rest and the tool to maintain control. I'm going to ease it in. And then slowly lift the handle. Start easing the tool. Absolutely 90 degrees. Whoops. Let's see what happens. It's easy for it to skate on you. Just hold it in place while we count our 30 Mississippis. Maybe not quite that long, but you got to be patient. And you can see that that's giving us a very nice little pattern. And you can imagine what that'll be like when we shine it up, or if you put a little rubbing buff on it. So it does work on hardwoods as well as softer woods. You just have to be patient to get that nice knurl. Now let's try the 16 on the outside edge, and the 12 teeth per inch, and see what kind of results we get with that. Let me back up a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. Again, hand firmly on the tool rest, holding this down, cutting right on center, engaging a little bit on one side. And once it starts cutting, we you got something to support that cut a little bit, we'll just ease it on around. Whoop, slipped away. Hold it 90 degrees, pressing very hard. Being very patient to keep pressing. This is an embossing tool again, not a cutting tool. So you got to give it time to do its work. And these 12 teeth per inch don't cut as easily as the 16. Let's punch that up a little bit. And see where the pattern changes. Okay. So we see the pattern changing right here. And the pattern changing right here. And then drop the handle, roll over. Make that bead, drop the handle, roll this direction. And we've still got a very nice, little insert to put inside a box, and that will shine up very well. We're going to go back to this neutral shoe polish, and let's just see what that does when we shine, if it'll shine it up some. And let's just really polish it up. And you can see what beautiful detail we have on that. So you may wonder what kind of success you get using this on the outside of a bowl, and let's give that a try. First thing we're going to do, I mentioned this in an earlier video, but in case you haven't seen that, we're going to give it a pencil test. You see we got some skip because I remounted this bowl blank. So let's go ahead and take a one pass, clean off this surface and get it running true. Because we got a sharp edge there, I'm just going to touch that edge a little bit. And then we're going to take this old Harbor Freight 1-inch skew that I've turned into a scraper and just skim it a little bit. We're not going to sand this. Again, normally we want to do finish sanding on projects before we texture. And of course, anytime we texture the outside of a bowl, you want to do it before you hollow the inside because you want as much mass and stability here as possible. So pull the tool rest out a little bit, and because of the size of the border, I'm just going to take one pass. We can get a little bit closer with the larger 3/8 inch wheel with the 12 teeth per inch. And slow that down a bit. Get this down below 600. Alright, we're going to just engage the edge, holding it down very firmly with my hand, lift the handle, ease it in, press very firmly. Again, people that don't have good luck get impatient and just don't wait for this embossing wheel to do the job. And it does take a while. And you can see that a little bit of a detail we got. And of course, before we get away from that, we'd want to do a bit of a decorative detail. And again, I could use the pyramid tool for this, but generally on bowls, I'd prefer to use a V-scraper, something a little more stability. And you can see that can give you a nice basket weave type of pattern or a diamond pattern on the outside. And this being the bottom of a bowl, usually I'd remove this tendon, but let's assume this is the bottom of the bowl. You could of course make a nice little flowered style feature on the bottom by just coming in here and engaging that corner. Slow the speed down, and we're just going to come in, catch the corner, and just press on the corner, maybe a 1/16 from the center of the bowl. So the full wheel is not touching, just the corner of the wheel. And you can see that gives us a nice tiny little little feature. Just a nice little decorative feature. Now here's a pretty typical project I make, threaded acorn boxes. And let me just compare and contrast three different methods of texturing the husk. There's the one I use the texturing tool. That's one of my earlier ones. Sometimes I'm not sure this is mahogany. I think this may be mahogany and not walnut. But cross hatching can look very well if the wood will handle that quality or level of detail. But I often use the Wagner tool, and I usually use the 3/8 inch, 12 teeth per inch, and overlap it by engaging one groove and then laying down another row. So those are all different methods to put some texture on a similar piece. And because of the similarity of using the different texturing tools, because you can sometimes replicate one pattern with different tools, I made a sample board, and then I documented exactly what technique I used on each one, so I can use that as a reference. And those small flowers that I talked about, I made a sample board with different techniques where I do a very small little flower type of detail. Here's a sample board I did to just kind of show you some of the different effects you can get specifically on doing a small detail that I call a flower that you could put on the bottom of a bowl, the bottom of a box, the inside of a box lid, bottom of a box. And these use the various tools from the spiraling and texturing tool, a chatter tool, the rotary Dremel tool, the Wagner tool. And each one of them, and there's such an overlap in some of the tools, it's very difficult for me to figure out exactly which one I used. So on the back, I can't show you that detail, but on the back I put the detail on each tool, and I don't want to take the time to go through all of these, but you can kind of see. And it's an example of something you can really play with and have fun and provide a really nice detail. Okay, that brings us to a wrap on this series of texturing tools. I hope you find it beneficial. We've compared and contrasted the different types of tools, and we looked at the kind of work they can do, how to best use them, how to make some of the descriptions pop. Now it's time for you to get out there and have some fun and just play with it. I give you permission to just get out there with a texturing tool or more and just play with it and see what kind of results you get. Thanks for watching.